Hello Dave is brought to you ad-free by my supporters on Patreon. Become a Patreon yourself and get your name listed as a supporter at the end of every video by following the link in the video description. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Hello Dave with Down to Earth Astronomy. Today we're talking about some of the information that's been announced regarding the exploration changes to the Q4 update. We're going to talk about the beta that's going to be coming for the Q4 update. We're also going to be talking about the Lost Salt expedition, and finally we're going to have a quick look at some upcoming live streams. But before we do that, I just want to say a quick thank you to all you guys who are supporting me on Patreon. It's because of you guys that I'm able to continuously upgrade my equipment to make better looking, better sounding videos for you guys. And I know I've mentioned this before in Hello Dave, that of course everything that comes in through Patreon all goes directly back into the channel somehow. Actually everything that comes in goes directly back into the channel. I haven't taken a single dime out of YouTube so far for privately. Everything has been put back into equipment and stuff like that. But especially the money from Patreon are all being used as stuff that directly impact the quality of either my videos or my live streams. So that could be better cameras, better lighting, better microphones, stuff like that makes the videos better for you guys. So a huge thank you to everybody who has supported me, and if you are considering supporting, of course, there's a link in the description. But let's dive into today's news and let's have a look at some of the information about the upcoming Q4 update. It's been pretty quiet, especially in the feedback forum. There was a few rapid feedbacks forums, and then it kind of died out for a bit, but it seems like now it's coming back. And this time around, we're looking at the exploration changes. Now, I'm just quickly going to go over some of the changes, and overall I think it looks pretty good. Now, the first thing that was stretched in the forum post, which I am going to link in the description below, was that they're not going to add any new modules at all. That means if you are already an explorer and you're already somewhere out in the dark or out in the black, you don't have to go back to the station to refit for new modules. If you just have an advanced discovery, or any discovery scanner for that matter, and a detailed surface scanner, you'll be able to do everything you need to do. They're just going to get some added functionality. So I think it's great that they're actually thinking into, well, who these changes are applying to. Well, these are applying to people who are, well, out on long trips, who might not see a station maybe once. I would see them once or twice a year in some cases. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. They're doing that. Now, they're making some changes to the discovery scanner, what we normally just refer to as the honk. The honk is still going to work in approximately the same way. So if you just honk the system, you're still going to get the credits for the basic scan. So it's not going to be if you use the exploration as a credit income, it's not going to deduct anything there. But once you activate your your discovery scanner, you're going to be taken into a new interface, and it's going to be basically you're going to scan around, and it's going to show you in 3 different levels whether it's a rocky planet, which would be at a lower level, or a big gas giant, which would go on the upper level. So it's a bit like the scanner for the SRV, where you would have small stuff at the bottom and bigger stuff at the top. It's kind of the same way, but instead of just being a 2D thing, it's now being projected out, of course, on the sphere around you. You can then turn the camera around, and you can then zoom in on. You do like more detailed scans on the planets as you begin to find them. It seems it's a bit easier to do than using the detailed surface scanner, but at least there's a little bit more gameplay around actually discovering a system now. And I would probably expect that maybe those signals, you could be able to decipher those maybe based on planet type and stuff like that. They didn't go into too much detail. I guess we're going to get that in the focus feedback once we get that. But anyway, I think that's a pretty good change. Sure, it's going to make some things a little bit more time consuming. I guess you're still going to get the same basic information about what type of planets there are. But now you can go into a little bit more detail if you want to actually go and get some proper information about the planets. Then to the detailed surface scanner. Now, these are now going to be able to fire these micro probes. So I think it's still going to be able to do the exact same thing as it does now. Scan the planet and you get basic information about materials and all that stuff. But in addition, it's going to get a new feature where you can find these micro, what are they calling them? Micro prospector, micro something probes. Let me just see if I can find this here. Yeah. Here it is. Micro sensor probes, they're called. And these probes are basically going to fly to the planet and they're then going to scan the surface of the planet, basically mapping out the planet so you get a proper map of the planet. And there's going to be a little bit of skill involved in flying with these because they are going to be affected by gravity. So if you just shoot them straight at the planet, they will just scan what's right in front of them. So you won't get that much coverage. But if you shoot them off at an angle away from the planet, you'll be able to slingshot them around the planet and you will then get more coverage, getting a larger coverage, or getting a larger portion of the planet mapped. And once you have the full planet mapped, you will then be able to go, and I think you're going to get it's now going to be a first mapped kind of, just like you can see first discovered on a planet. You can also see first mapped, so who was the first who actually went and mapped the whole thing when you had 100% coverage on the planet. And as I understand it, these probes are also going to be able to locate objects on the planets like the Thargoid bases, the Guardian structures, stuff like that. So those kind of things, as I understand it, would be able to be discovered by these microsensor probes, which of course can be synthesized. So that's going to make the whole process of finding these kind of things a lot easier. No more do people have to fly around the planets for hours, basically eyeballing it manually to try and find these kind of things. This can now be done a little bit easier in game. So that's absolutely wonderful. I think that's a welcome change, and I think it's good to make exploration a little bit more engaging than it was before. I think if I've been on several exploration trips, and I would often find that if I've been out there for a month, I begin to get bored and I need to get back. I think it's good that they're doing a little bit more, so there's a little bit more gameplay around actually exploring. It's just not pointing or targeting a planet, then pointing at it and then falling slightly asleep, waiting for your scanner to go ding, and then you're done. There's a little bit more gameplay around that, so absolutely thumbs up from my side here for those changes. But the change that I am actually the most excited about is the changes to USSs. Now, it was a little vague because in the post I haven't actually scrolled too much through the post to see if they clarify this later on. But in the main post, they do mention that they do call them USSs, like unknown signal sources. But when they talk about them, it seems to be point of interest. So I'm a little in doubt exactly what they're referring to, because they do refer to them as what I would normally call a point of interest. But bear with me here. So basically what they're saying is, they're saying the USSs are now going to be able to be detected system-wide. Probably with an advanced discovery scanner would be my guess. But you're going to be able to detect them system-wide, and they're going to have a decay time, which you already do now, but they're going to extend it so it's longer, because now you would potentially be able to find USSs at a longer distance. And then, of course, now you can see every USS in the system. You can then go to them and then drop into them. So what I hope this means, if I understand this correctly, that means no more do we have to just fly around in deep space looking for high-grade emissions for hours without finding anything. If you ever engineered any ship, you will know the pain of hunting high-grade emission data or high-grade emissions to find grade 5 engineering materials. That is an absolute pain. It is boring. And you really have to just sit and stare at your screen, because if you look away, it'll be gone before you even manage to drop out. So being able to detect those system-wide, I think, is absolutely wonderful. It's going to make things a lot easier. But there's a few things that does concern me about this. Because does that mean that once you jump into a system, it's going to spawn all the USSs available in the system? And then, well, when you didn't take in the high grades that you could before they decayed, then what? First of all, it doesn't make any sense to me why they would... It makes sense why they would maybe decay over time. You could argue, yeah, well, that makes sense. But I would expect more to spawn over time. So if I let's say half an hour later or just 10 minutes later, did another scan of the system, I would then hopefully be able to get a new list of USSs. Because new would have arrived in the meantime. New would have spawned. Because if they don't do that, first of all, it does not make sense. Why do all the USSs suddenly just materialize as soon as they jump into the system? That's a little bit immersion breaking, if you ask me. So I would really hope that they will spawn over time and that we're not going to get into yet another log out, log back in kind of thing, where you would have to scan the system, find high grades, jump to them until they're all done, all despawned, and then log out, log back in. I would really hate if that was the way that was going to be, because I really wish that now they're implementing a new game mechanic around this, that they would actually make it so that you could stay in the game and it would continuously refresh. Alternatively, you would have to go and jump from system to system, but again, since when you're hunting high grades, you're often looking for systems that has very specific, that could be, there must be a federal system in Boom or something like that. So there would be a limited number of systems. Now, federal systems in Boom is not that difficult to find, but there are other combinations of systems that are not that common, and if that's the case, you might actually have to travel quite far before you find a system that has the right combination of stats and government to get the materials that you need. So therefore, I really hope that they're going to implement some kind of way where we can refresh, or the system will refresh itself as we are flying around, so we don't have to, so USS farming is going to be a little bit more interesting, a little bit less painful. Now, I mentioned also that there's going to be a beta for 3.3, the Q4 update. And I was actually quite surprised. They say that it would be out over the coming... What was the exact formulation here? Let me just quickly check that up. Yeah, here it is. In the coming weeks. And this was posted on... Let me see here, the 12th. That was Wednesday last week. So I would be surprised if we were going to see a beta before the end of this month. It sounds like maybe at the beginning of next month. It seems like due to be right around the corner, and it's going to be a open public beta, so everybody's going to be able to go in and try it out. Everybody on PC probably. Historically, I don't think the betas has been available on the consoles, so unfortunately, I think if you are on console, you would have to look for a YouTube video, or that's probably the best bet. Look around on the forums, Reddit, wherever you get your really dangerous information from. But at least for all you guys on PC out there is going to be an open beta. You're going to be able to go in and try it out. And again, it being a beta, it seems like, I actually really like this, it seemed like that the open beta is going to be running at the same time as some of the exploration focus feedbacks, if that's the case. I'm not exactly sure when that should go up, but I would really love if that would be at the same time. It would make so much sense to me if you were able to go into the game, try out the new features, and try them out in different situations, then go to the focus feedback and then say, oh, I found that this and this and that didn't work, or this and that worked really well. Well, rather than that you have to sit and try to think up the situations that could arise, you can actually go in now and try it. I hope that's what's going to happen. So I'm really, really happy to see that the open betas are once again back, and at least with the exploration changes, I think Frontier's done a very good job here. But now that we're talking about exploration, I need to give a little shout out. The Fatherhood, I mentioned those before. They are hosting a exploration trip. It's going to be called the Lost Souls Expedition, where they're going to be heading out to the Formadine Rift. The route is already plotted. They're going to leave on the 21st of October. They're going to be arriving in the Formadine Rift on the 16th of December, so it's going to be just 2 months. And you might say, well, that's a long time to get to the Formadine Rift. And yes, it is. But if you know the group, the Fatherhood, these are a group of players that are... it would often be like family dads or someone who might not be able to play that much, where... they try to structure their events around that you might have limited time in the game, which is of course why I guess they've set a fairly long flight trip to get to the Formadine Rift. And of course, if you want, you're more than welcome to join them. I'll link for the Discord where everything's being coordinated over there. And as I understand it, they will also have like extra additional stops, so that would be off the main route. So if you have very limited time, you can just follow the main route with the main fleet. but if you have a little bit extra time, there are going to be small site excursions you can take with parts of the fleet if you have some extra time out there when you're exploring anyway. And of course, once you reach the destination in the middle of December, you can either return on your own, or you can follow the fleet back, and they're then planning to be back somewhere in the middle of February. So yeah, if you want a small exploration trip, you can go ahead, you can jump over there and enjoy that. Then I want to talk a little bit about live streams. I haven't been live streaming a lot of No Man's Sky lately, and it's not because that I'm burnt out of the game. I'm really looking forward to getting back into the game. But with as you might have known, I've been was sick a week ago so that's why I haven't been. I'm trying to keep live streaming to a minimum, just to try to spare my voice a little bit. It's almost up and running again at full force, so I'm expecting that No Man's Sky's live stream will begin to return again, hopefully in the coming days. But of course, tomorrow on Tuesday, it's gonna be the usual Elite Dangerous live stream, which is gonna be at 7 o'clock in game time. And tomorrow I'm going, we're actually at least two people who might get some more people on, but we're a couple of guys who are going to go out and do some goit hunting. And the main part is we want to show at least two ways to kill a Thargoid. It's well known that there are at least there's a slow way and a fast way to kill a Thargoid, and this is not something new. A lot of you guys would probably already know about it. We have been doing this for a couple of weeks. It's hilarious. But basically what we're going to do, we're going to go out, we're going to kill a few Thargoids just for the fun of it. And then we're going to show you the fast way at the end of the stream. So I really hope that you guys will join me and drop by the stream again tomorrow at 7 o'clock in game time. And of course it will be streamed both here on YouTube and on Twitch. So yeah, hope to see you guys there. So I think I will call it for today. It's already been a very long Hello Dave, but I hope you liked it anyway. If you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'll see you guys in space.